focus on bridges in Pennsylvania. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Pennsylvania State Representative Stephen Bloom. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Jill.
Before we get into a piece of legislation that you are working to move forward, let's talk a little bit about the severity of the problem when it comes to bridge and roadway safety and some of the issues the Commonwealth is facing now.
We've got, in this state, we've got a large number of structurally deficient bridges or obsolete bridges. We've got a massive amount of road miles of highway to try to maintain with a difficult climate and a lot of traffic. So we have a number of roads that aren't in the best of shape. And we have several large mass transit systems in the state. SEPTA down in the Philadelphia area, the Port Authority out in Pittsburgh, and then multiple other regional transportation systems, all demanding dollars from taxpayers to fund their operations. So we've got a dilemma. We've got a lot of issues. And the question is, how are we going to prioritize the money we spend in Pennsylvania to deal with these transportation issues?
And we're talking about a state with an aging infrastructure system. Some of the bridges date back 80 years or 50 years.
Many are reaching the end of their planned life. So it's time to invest in these bridges. But the question is, how are we going to do that?
And the current highway spending is about $6.5 billion annually. Does that spending go far enough?
It doesn't really go far enough. I mean, there's never going to be enough money to do everything we ought to do in Pennsylvania or any other state. We always, as government, have to make difficult choices. That's part of our job, is to be stewards of the taxpayer dollars. Apply those dollars where they're most needed, where they'll do the most good. In an ideal world where we had all the money in the world, we'd fix every bridge, pave every road, build every train system and bus system that we could, and have the world's best transportation system. We don't have that kind of money, and we have to be respectful of the taxpayers and use the money in a frugal manner. And that's why I'd like to focus our spending on the bridge safety emergency that we're facing here in Pennsylvania.
And let's get into some of the details of that. You have something you're calling a Bridge Safety Emergency First Initiative. It's a piece of legislation that you're working to put forward. Essentially, it's a mechanism to prioritize infrastructure projects.
And exactly, and PennDOT has recently announced that they're going to be closing a large number of additional bridges in Pennsylvania, or putting weight restrictions on those bridges, which might prevent not only commercial vehicles like trucks and farm vehicles, but safety vehicles, fire trucks, or even school buses from crossing those bridges. They'll have to go way out of their way. We could lose valuable minutes in the case of an emergency. Lives could be lost. So my initiative, the Bridge Safety Emergency First Initiative, says if PennDOT is going to weight restrict or close a bridge, that bridge automatically, by that action, gets pushed to the front of the spending plan so that we can move it to the top of the list of construction projects. Do that first before we do anything else. Before we do the nice-to-have projects, let's do the need-to-have projects.
What could this mean, though, in terms of ancillary roads or other highway projects that are in need of repair?
It's not the complete answer for all that. What I'm saying, though, is that the key duty I believe we have to the taxpayers is to maintain safety, and in particular, maintain the safety of our bridges, so we don't see a bridge collapse or we don't see people suffering because the emergency vehicles can't get to their house in time or their business in time, that kind of thing. So focusing on bridges, to me, is the top priority. And we've got to look at other issues. There's obviously a lot of discussion going into the fall here in Pennsylvania about how do we fund other transportation needs. I was part of a group that helped to reject the idea of imposing a large new gas tax on Pennsylvania consumers. I don't think that's the route we need to go. I think we need to focus on cost, ending the prevailing wage, which artificially inflates the cost of our construction projects, other cost and efficiency focused measures before we end up deciding to do anything that would remotely be a new tax increase or a new fee increase for our consumers and taxpayers.
Many issues still to be addressed in the fall as it relates to transportation funding. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Joe.
We've been talking with Pennsylvania State Representative Stephen Bloom. I'm Jill Horner.